Hi, I'm Sada, founding director of To Scale, which is a creative communication studio, and this is Why Architecture. Ooh, okay, cool. So this is probably what I realized years after is,
Okay, Oscar.
ooh, like this is great, and I was like, cool.
3, 2, 1. Today we will be chatting and making some art,
Okay.
and this all depends on what word you pick from here.
Ooh, okay, cool. So, I picked two both.
Oh,
Okay, community, nice one.
great. We're gonna make an art based on community. Okay, what made you decide to study architecture?
I was the only one in my year group who decided to study architecture. I was really confused for a long time, and initially I had thought I'd do psychology, which is totally different. And then I ended up doing art A-level without doing a GCSE. So I was kind of like, I definitely want to do something creative. I just didn't really know what, and architecture seemed to be that like sweet spot, which is kind of like a very cliche thing people say, I think. But it is what it is. So yeah, that's kind of how it started.
Interesting. So what subjects did you do?
I did art, computing, and maths.
Oh, okay. Mine's similar, but the only switch is physics.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really know. It felt like there were set subjects, and I was
Yeah.
told that if you want to do architecture, you do physics, maths, and
Right.
art. So I was like, sure.
I was actually discouraged to do architecture.
Oh.
My art teacher was always telling me like you should just do a foundation year and something else.
Yeah.
So she didn't really support my application.
Wait, why is that though?
I think maybe she thought I wasn't prepared, but I also got the feeling, and this is probably what I realized years after, is that she probably didn't know enough about architecture, is probably where it was coming from.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah,
that's true, because I feel like a lot of the people that are in charge of that decision to what subjects do on in the architecture industry is just like some preconceived like notion that you definitely need physics and
exactly.
Maths.
Yeah, for sure. I was put onto physics because I couldn't start my art A-level because I hadn't done it for GCSE. So they were like, "Oh, you want to do architecture? Like, we'll just put you in physics instead." And I was like, "No." So I didn't enjoy that. That's all.
What would you like to use? What's your preferred?
I don't really have. I haven't used sort of like watercolors in ages, actually. Yeah, I might just go with the colored pencil to begin with, and then see how we get on.
I'm feeling a bit of paint. Painted.
So we're doing something around community.
Yeah.
Good one. I haven't actually worked on any like community projects either. Okay. What are you thinking?
The earth is coming to mind. But I feel like that's so surface level.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. What inspired you to branch out from traditional architecture practice?
So I reached a point where I was doing my part 2 as a freelancer. I'd been given that opportunity very luckily by the practice I was at, which is quite untraditional. And I reached a point where all my colleagues and friends were thinking about doing it their part 3.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, cool, like great. So basically in the next year or so, they would have become architects. And I was like, oh, but then I'd still be a part 2. Isn't that kind of weird? Or like, I thought that my employers at the time might have expected me to do my part 3.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't for me. I think there's a huge level of sort of like commitment and time and energy that you have to dedicate to that, and I just didn't have that at all. So I thought maybe this is the best time to sort of pivot into communications, which is sort of what I was doing anyway. So yeah, that's kind of where it came from. It's just that realization, I suppose.
What inspired you to start To Scale?
It came from a conversation I had with one of my friends where we were really in the thick of it at the beginning of the project doing site analysis, as you would, and I'd made a sun path diagram, and she messaged me being like, how did you do this? Like, can you please teach me? So I sent her a very like shoddy video recording on Facebook Messenger, and she was like, this is great. And I was like, cool. But it actually like didn't even, like the idea didn't come to me then. It came to me way after when I was applying for jobs, and I was kind of like, I need to do something to keep myself busy, and I thought, okay, I'll start a blog.
Yeah.
So yeah, To Scale was initially a blog, which some people are surprised at, I suppose.
Did you have an end goal in mind, or was it just start and see how it goes and what it grows into and branches out into?
Yeah, there wasn't necessarily an end goal, but there was a bit of a like North Star in terms of I'd love to just help one other person navigate uni, which I didn't really have because I think at the time all the resources and documentation online was very much geared to like US audiences or other countries, and there wasn't really anything for the way the UK architectural system is structured.
I remember speaking to someone about that, how there wasn't that much information out there even when I was starting out.
Yeah.
And when you do see something, it feels like it's very curated and tailored, and it doesn't feel as realistic as it is when you're actually doing the course and you realize, well, why didn't anyone tell me about this?
That's a good point.
It would have been nice to know this beforehand, or even just generally how qualification occurs. I feel like that isn't you're not really told about it.
No.
You kind of just hear it in like second or third year, and you're like, oh, okay, so still have a long way to go. People know it's 7 to 10 years, but breaking it down as to what that is.
Yeah, that's so true. I had so many people in my first year who didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
And even much later, when I went back to Greenwich to do like crit days, I was talking to like first year students, and they were like, oh, it takes that long?
Yeah.
Like, what's a part 3? I was like, oh no, you're like in it now. So that is definitely scary.
I read your piece in the Architect's Journal. We need to do away with all-nighters, basically.
Yeah.
And as someone who is very anti-all-nighters, it's out with me. So
that's good to hear.
To people who still see the need for all-nighters, I just feel like it's so ingrained in the culture of the career. How do you think they can move away from this way of life that they're just so used to?
I think it takes a certain level of discipline and also a bit of bravery. Like you almost have to be that first one to take that step.
Yeah.
So when I was in uni, I preferred working from home, even though like my little shoebox room was like 2 minutes away from the studio.
Yeah.
I just preferred that because I was comfortable and I could sort of like watch my TV shows and blah, blah, blah. So I never really put myself in a position where I was in the studio slaving away.
Yeah.
And also if we were working with friends, for example, I'd always just kind of encourage everyone to sort of like go out for lunch or like a longer lunch or like leave and go get dinner, and then everyone would sort of like naturally go home.
Yeah.
So I feel like you have to be the first one to take that leap in a sense.
Yeah, that's true. I always tell people that whenever I try to work, because I'm such a do all my work in the day kind of person, and anything I do past maybe 7:30 on a good day, 8 on a bad day, is when I wake up, I just redo it because it feels like it's not the best of my ability. So yeah, I don't know. And I feel like for a lot of people, it's almost like this badge of honor. Like I was up till 3, 4 a.m. doing work, and I feel bad because you shouldn't have to do that to yourself. I know a lot of unis these days aren't like necessarily advocating for you to do all-nighters.
Right.
But I think they're also not doing enough to stop all-nighters. There's the workload, there's the pressure. So the natural result is just the student feeling like they need to put in those extra hours.
I think it is really tricky on both parts, like you said, like with the uni setting those boundaries.
Yeah.
Because I've heard it from students before where they're like, oh yeah, our tutors expect us to be in the studio all night long. And it's just like, but they can't force you to be there.
Yeah.
And outside of your like timetabled hours, again, like you're not obligated to be there.
Yeah.
I think there is a sense of sort of like fear of missing out, especially if your studio is just built that way, or everyone just sort of like goes with that herd mentality.
Yeah.
It's really hard to break out of that. But I remember like while I was posting content and sharing, like documenting my journey through masters, I'd get so many people, like my peers, who'd come up to me like, how do you get so much work done? Why are you always posting about it? And I'd be like, I'm just doing my bit, like sharing stuff, like sorry for working hard.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I may come across as very unserious because it's almost like I do more stuff that isn't architecture related than actual uni work. But I don't know. I guess there's also just finding that balance within yourself. I think early on I just had the mentality that the work is really never done unless the deadline passes.
Yeah.
Because like no matter what project it is, you could always make changes to it. So I'm not really going to put myself in the space where I'm just constantly trying to make it better when I don't even know. At a point, you don't even know what better is. Like, overdone. To scale, you talk a lot about the experience of students in school. And what would you say, or what would you wish someone had told you when starting out studying architecture?
Probably that it's okay to fail at things. I failed my first year technology module and I thought it was the end of the world. And I soon realized that 85% of the rest of the year had also failed.
Oh, wow.
So they basically had no choice but to sort of let everyone resit that.
Yeah.
Which wasn't that difficult when you think about it. But yeah, I think people sort of like run into a hurdle and assume that they failed or they're not good at something, and it's even more harsh within architecture, I suppose.
Yeah.
But even outside of uni, I think you just have to like fail at certain things to learn from it, I suppose.
Yeah, I think I do agree. I feel like it's very important to fail. Again, it's kind of cliche, but you do learn a lot just like from things going bad.
Yeah.
Like you also find how resilient you are and just how like quick to adapting to situations. But yeah, it's pretty cool. What are you drawing?
I'm drawing a large meeting room-ish table. I'm working off of DMFK's basement meeting room table because their space is super cozy and really nice, and we did an open studio there a few weeks ago, and I just liked how everyone kind of gets a seat at the table in a way. So you could be sitting right next to an architect, but they could be teaching you things, but equally you could be teaching them things. And I feel like that is kind of what encapsulates community for me, is that sort of like nurturing talent and being mindful of what kind of traits you're passing down to the next gen.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And it's good you mentioned Open Studio. How did that come about?
It came about from me looking for part 2 jobs.
Fair enough.
I was being very, very picky.
Yeah.
Because straight out of university, I didn't want to just jump into the first practice I saw. And equally, I knew it was going to be difficult regardless of building a personal brand and all these things. So I freelanced at various like content agencies and small startups, and then I was like, okay, now's the time to really look for an architecture job, and I find it really difficult because I wasn't sure as to what each practice was offering me.
Yeah.
So I think Open Studio was a way to get people's like foot in the door and let them see like this is a studio culture, these are the day-to-day responsibilities, because those things don't really come across in a job advert.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You phrased it in a very interesting way, what the company is offering me. I don't think a lot of people think about that when looking for a job. It's more, I just want a job. And with that, how do you navigate that?
I think so. If you get to the interview stage, for example, I feel like you have to remember that you're also interviewing the practice. It's not just one way, because I'm sure the practice will say all the politically correct things about them, but it might be only after like 3 months that you realize actually, everyone's overworked, or the resourcing isn't great, or the projects aren't what you thought they were, or advertised on their website. So I feel like you kind of have to go at it from a like dual perspective of, yes, I want this job, and I can totally understand sort of like being desperate and trying to find your like next full-time job, and I fell into that trap during my part 1 because I was just like, I'll take anything at this rate, which I did. But you kind of have to be a bit, I guess, picky, I suppose, but not everyone can afford that. Yeah,
I always tell people that looking for a part 1 job radicalized me, because I just didn't understand how, and it's also very, it gets very sad or very alone when you feel like you're the only one in the world that can't seem to get the part 1 job. Like it's almost like this lonely feeling of
That's so true. Like it can get really isolating.
Yeah.
Which is why when sort of like we get people in open studios and you almost get this like really informal networking bit at the beginning where everyone's waiting for the thing to start.
Yeah.
And they'll talk about themselves and they'll say, oh, you know, I studied at Westminster or Bartlett or whatever.
Yeah.
But everyone's in that same situation.
Yeah.
And it kind of helps you feel a little less lonely.
Yeah, that's true. What would you say your best part of architecture school was? Because I know some people love crits, some hate crits, some love model making, some love learning new softwares. What would you say yours is?
I think my favorite part was the storytelling, not so much within the crits, because I did get nervous, but I think I always performed better than I thought I would. And it did help me sort of, I think it helps you like really go back to being a bit more introspective, because it's only when you put your ideas out there. Sometimes I've been in crits where I'm like, okay, that was actually a really bad decision, and I'm thinking it, and the tutor will say the same thing. I'll be like, okay, and go back to the drawing boards. So that's happened a few times, which I think is actually really beneficial, because for me it takes a few tries to kind of get those right ideas flowing.
Yeah, I feel like storytelling in architecture is it's so interesting. It's very easy to just present it as this is a building and this is whatever I've done.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really pull the room. Like
No.
in a way you have to embody like a salesperson. You have to, how do you reach out to the people that are right in front of you? How do they connect to your project? And it's also one of those things that is a skill that isn't really taught.
No, you're right. Yeah, I think it's also good to look at references. Like, I love movies.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you think about your project from a perspective of what would this be like if it were a movie, you've got that beginning, middle, end, maybe you might have some sort of problem, which is usually what briefs are, they're solving a problem. So I feel like if you can frame it in that way, it definitely becomes much more interesting. Because you're totally right, like people will say, oh, I made a staircase here, or I've got a reception here, like, okay, you can see those things.
It's like, oh, here's my floor plan. And it's like, I think that's such a good skill. What would you say your favorite movie is?
Oh my gosh, my favorite movie. So I watch a lot of Indian cinema too.
Yeah.
So I will go back and forth between those. But top 4, wow. Interstellar is really amazing. I only watched it very recently, actually.
What, for the first time?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
for the first time. Which I was like, okay, everyone's going about this way. Let me just give it a go.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. I have a few sort of like comfort movies in Indian cinema that I go back to depending on whatever mood I'm in. Quite like anything apart from horror, I would say.
Oh,
yeah, because I'm such a sort of like night owl that I don't think I'd be able to function whilst watching horror movies.
Fair enough. I feel like studying architecture is what actually increased my movie watching, because there's so much like when you're doing stuff that's just okay, I'm doing this, but I need some background. That's
so true. Okay, so I go between sort of like comfort shows.
Yeah.
So How I Met Your Mother got me through architecture school.
Yeah.
So did Friends in my first year, and I was watching that for the first time. But yeah, How I Met Your Mother I could put on anytime.
You need like a good 10 season, 22 episode long sitcom, and you're good. It's word association. I'm going to say words that are that are very like architecture, but your responses or your associations have to do nothing with architecture.
Okay.
For example, if I say Norman, I do not want to hear Foster. It should be something else. I don't know what else it could be, but
I have no idea what it could be either.
but it should be something else. Okay. Your first one is scale.
Ooh, scale, like a weighing scale.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Okay. Frank
the Punisher.
Actually, I'll give that. Yeah, that works. Go watch The Punisher if you haven't. Section. Okay, Oscar.
Ooh, Oscar, like the Oscars.
Yeah. Okay. And draft.
Like getting drafted in the NBA or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Good. Cool.
Great.
Leading on from that, how do you see architecture and how do you think the world should perceive architecture?
Great question. I think I see architecture through stories, a bit similar, like you said, more than just the building. I think for me, it's like the spaces that you almost take for granted. A lot of the details that people have put a lot of work and time into that just get unnoticed in a way. I think in terms of what people should perceive architecture as, I feel like it's something close to community. For example, I think it's probably about viewing architecture as not building specific, but more about just the spaces around you, and that can be anything from the toilet that you go to or the sort of like town that you visit on a holiday, for example.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, because I feel like it seems to be there is a disconnect. It's like a multi-layered disconnect. There's a disconnect between how society views architects, how architects view themselves, and how like architecture students view architecture or architects in general. Yeah. And I don't know which one is closest to the reality. I feel like the reality is somewhere in the middle of all of that.
Maybe.
But maybe one day we'll find out. What practical steps do you think the industry as a whole could take to ensure that there's more accessibility into the architecture industry?
I think it's a case of investing in the next generation. Yeah. I think we've had this conversation about for probably decades around there not being enough jobs, or the gap between education and practice, and the lack of skills, and so on and so forth. But so far, everyone's kind of just talked about it. Yeah. There are some really great organizations out there who help people before they get into architecture school or after they leave architecture school. I don't think there's much support during that phase. Yeah. So I think practices in particular need to invest in, going the apprenticeship route or nurturing talent from the beginning, because I think especially in the UK, they perceive part ones as kind of like a throwaway title almost, because they're only there for that year. Yeah. So it's really just about like kind of investing in them, because that's what's going to help you have a regenerative practice, because you're passing down those skills and values to shape architects in about 10 years time or whatever it is. Yeah. Otherwise, I don't think we'll have many architects left. Yeah. And especially not many without representation, which is really important. Yeah.
Definitely meeting people before they even decide architecture as a career path is way more interesting to me, because for a lot of people, they don't even think of architecture as something. It's not something that they could go down. At what point do you meet students? Where's the best time to engage with like secondary schools or even primary schools, and just say, hey, like, why don't you become an architect?
Absolutely.
And then even if it's a case where you're not necessarily going on to become an architect, you just have architecture knowledge, and you need architecture knowledge everywhere you go somehow. So it fits with the skills you can have for any job, I personally believe.
I agree. Like a few years ago, everyone was calling architecture like the leapfrog degree. Yeah. And I totally see it. And some were saying, oh, maybe that's not such a good thing, because by the time they get to qualification, everything's quite diluted or whatever. But I totally agree that it gives you so many more skills than you initially realized. Yeah. And I was thinking about this a few months ago about, okay, well, do my design skills actually hold any weight still in my day-to-day? And of course they do, because even when I'm working on like branding or like websites and things, I'm thinking about how people navigate through a website, or how is this going to be perceived by different people, which are all skills you learn subconsciously in architecture school.
Yeah, that's true. You all should go study architecture. For anyone who is feeling a bit burnt out studying architecture, because as we all know, it's so long, what kind of advice would you give them to just keep going and I guess get out of the rut there?
I think it goes back to an advice that my tutors gave me in masters, which is just try and have fun with it. And I wrote this down. I was like, oh, it's such a like cringy and cheesy advice to give to someone. But I remember sort of, like you said, being in that rut and feeling like, what am I actually doing this for? What's going to happen when I graduate? And like, doing all this amazing project work is cool and all, but it's not really going to help me land a job in 6 months' time. But I remember them saying sort of, just try and have fun in whatever you're doing. And so for for me, that looks like going really, really in depth into sort of like research or understanding the history of something or making patterns and stuff like that. So I feel like if you can find that thing that you do enjoy in the process, then it will definitely help.
If you were the RIBA president for a day, what impactful thing would you do to the general industry?
So whatever I do in this day, is it going to be like permanent, or is it just
stays.
for the day?
No, it stays.
Maybe I'd make sort of like membership free for all. I think that's a very heavily debated topic, which is probably getting more notice than it should.
Yeah.
But I think for students, historically the RIBA have tried all kinds of initiatives and mentoring groups or advisory boards, and it's never really amounted to much. So I think I would probably implement some sort of formal connection to the organizations and initiatives that are already doing really good work, and support them or platform them in a way, which again, RIBA are not doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. What is an unpopular opinion you have about architecture?
Architects are better at positioning themselves than they think, or they have more skills than they think. So you know, if you asked the architect like, oh, what do you do or what are you good at, they'll usually define themselves by the practice that they work at or the university that they studied, but they won't ever define themselves by the skills that they have. And I think that's kind of a lost opportunity, and is probably the reason why architects are somewhat known to kind of have like an ego, or some known for like being quite in their bubble in terms of other disciplines. It's because they don't really kind of like share like that. That makes sense.
3, 2, 1, turn. Okay, and could you explain what you're drawing?
So I drew a sort of like very long meeting table that you often see in lots of practices, but this one in particular is sort of reminiscent of one of the architecture studios that we visited for Open Studio, and I was just telling Kuro that I really like the fact that everyone who attended, whether they were a part 1 or a part 2, an architect or director, they all kind of had a seat at the same table, and they were able to kind of share ideas or learn from each other. So I feel like that kind of encapsulates the community that I've been building.
Now, to bluff through mine, the sky and the ground, but then nothing in the middle to signify the absence of community, and how community is the binding force we need in society to bridge the gap between the earth and the ground. Okay, you know.
Well, if you're a part 1, part 2 architectural assistant, or if you are looking for a job, if you're a graduate in any adjacent industries, I do run a series of mentoring programs and events called Open Studio. We try and do 2 a month, and we've got a kind of varied calendar for the rest of the summer, but we'll be picking back up the mentoring schemes back in September. So if you'd like to join, feel free. You can find it on my website and Instagram.
The link will be somewhere. Somewhere.
Great.
Okay, thank you so much, Sana. Thank you for your time. This was really cool. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you sometime soon.